that's a nasty way to go. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for another top 10 brutal video game deaths. For this list, we're going to be looking at even more creative and bloody ways that video game characters meet their end. Last time we did this, we focused on story moment deaths. This time, we're opening up the floodgates to include game over and optional deaths players may not normally encounter. As such, this list will contain a lot of mature content as well as a few spoilers, so you've been warned. Number 10, Crazy Dr. Salvador, Resident Evil 4. It can't be easy being Leon Kennedy. What with having to constantly face off against hordes of zombies, or in this case, just plain crazy people with parasites inside him.
Chainsaw.
While on a mission to rescue the president's daughter, he comes across a remote village filled with folks who revere the cult responsible for the kidnapping. Unfortunately, these people don't take kindly to outsiders, and it turns out one of them has a chainsaw. Should Leon allow him to get too close, he ends up getting an instant game over via the grisly loss of his pretty head. Number 9, Welcome to Columbia, Bioshock Infinite.
And now, the 1912 raffle has officially begun!
Turns out there's trouble in paradise in the floating city of Columbia. Bound together by zealotry, violence, and racism, Booker DeWitt doesn't exactly get a warm welcome here. When given the option to toss a baseball at an interracial couple for entertainment's sake, Booker can outright refuse and turn on the announcer, only to find himself grabbed by the authorities, where he's recognized as the fabled false shepherd.
Don't you know that makes you the backstabbing snake in the grass false shepherd?
Booker's way out of this jam is kind of a messy one. After distracting one of the guards, Booker smashes that poor soul's face into his partner's skyhook. A sign of things to come in Columbia, no doubt. Number 8, another Carmine bites the dust. Gears of War 2.
It's Carmine!
The Carmine family probably has some of the worst luck in the entire franchise. In the first installment, Anthony Carmine was sniped down by the Locust, while his younger brother Benjamin suffers what can be considered a worse fate when he's swallowed by a riftworm.
Carmine!
Despite Marcus Phoenix and company's efforts to save him, they find his body half devoured by the acidic and creepy as hell Nemesis. Of course, he doesn't die immediately, with just enough breath in him to give Marcus a letter to hand to his surviving brother Clayton. Rest in peace, Ben. You didn't deserve to go out like that. Number 7, The Killing Joke, Dead Rising.
Everyone used to laugh at me.
Nothing like a zombie apocalypse to bring out the worst in humanity. As Frank West cuts his way through a mall filled to the brim with undead, he also finds himself encountering a whole plethora of psychopaths who have used the apocalypse to let loose their inner sadist.
That's why I decided to give all the happy people a lift on this fun ride.
One such man is Adam, taking your childhood fear of clowns and making it a million times worse by adding 2 chainsaws to the mix. After you defeat him, Adam decides to end his own life by falling on his own weapons, which start to cut him to pieces, all while laughing like a maniac. Ooh. Number 6, Impaled, Tomb Raider. In this reimagining of Lara Croft's origins, her exploits take on a much grittier turn as she has to survive the elements, push past a whole heap of pain, and fight against an endless swarm of psychotic nomads who are armed to the teeth. If players aren't quick enough on the draw, they'll soon find themselves watching Lara suffer some very unpleasant deaths. Out of all of them, the one that gets our skin crawling the most is when she's sent tumbling down a ravine. And should she not swerve out of the way of debris in time, she ends up getting spiked through the throat where she's left dangling and gasping. That really looks like it hurts. Number 5, for those about to rock Until Dawn. In all honesty, any one of Until Dawn's death sequences could make this list, as their homage to camp classic horror has provided some real winners that range from hilarious to excessively gory. In the end, we had to go with one of Emily's more vicious ends during her escape attempt from the Wendigo. The bitch of the group gets put through the ringer as she tries to flee from the monster on a conveyor belt, which turns out to hold a rock crusher at the end of it. Should players fail the following QuickTime event, she ends up falling in and turned into some rather unpleasant mincemeat. Number 4, Doom Unto You. Doom. Now here's a death that we can get behind. Well, to be specific, a whole bunch of deaths through the medium of a well-beloved weapon. In this latest reboot of the classic FPS, players not only get to pummel into the heads of demons with their badass new suit, as well as shoot them into bloody chunks, but also they get to rip them apart with a chainsaw. After being recovered from inside a corpse, the Doom guy has the option to let her rip and carve up an enemy he comes across with this magnificently barbaric tool of death. Number 3, No Legs to Stand On, God of War 3.
The Spartan lights the way to dusty death.
Kratos is an artist when it comes to killing of gods, and just about anything else in between him and his goal, though he saves the best deaths for those that lie at the peak of Mount Olympus. One such death is that of Hermes, the messenger of the gods. After taunting Kratos endlessly about his quest for vengeance, the ghost of Sparta gets his own back by cutting Hermes' legs off in order to take the winged boots for himself. It's not quick either, since Kratos makes him crawl away before slicing off the other, leading his body to disintegrate into a swarm of flies. You really should have kept your mouth shut there, Hermes. Number 2, a tasty treat, Mortal Kombat X. Oh, Melina, so beautiful on the outside, well, until you look behind that veil. While her fatalities across the series have often involved her using those obscenely large and powerful teeth to devour her foes, her most vicious one came during the franchise's latest outing.
Melina wins. Fatality.
Out of her 2 newest fatalities, the most brutal comes when she literally tears her opponents apart with her bare hands until they are practically split in 2, leaving them to try to crawl away as they watch Melina take bites out of their rendered guts. Nice.
Melina wins. Fatality.
Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
Here's your ticket to paradise, old man.
Number 1, Getting an Eyeful, Dead Space 2.
Cross my heart about to die. Stick a needle in your eye.
Isaac Clarke has seen some horrific sights during his time as an engineer and experienced some of the goriest deaths in all of video games, but the blood-soaked crown belongs to this infamous moment from the series' second installment. In a bid to remove the marker's presence from his mind, Isaac has to crawl into a claustrophobic machine where a needle slowly descends towards his eyeball. Should the player make one wrong move, the needle, as well as the rest of the machine, comes crashing down through his skull, where we get to watch Isaac's agony unfold. It's gruesome, yet totally unforgettable. Do you agree with our list?
Okay, it's over.
What do you think is the most brutal death in video games? If you didn't see a death you thought should be here, be sure to check out our first list on the top 10 brutal video game deaths. And for more top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.